Hello, this is Weekend File on the NTA, live in Abuja. Thanks for joining us. Now, the mere mention of coronavirus or COVID-19 still sends shivers down the spine of even the strongest, a virus that shook the world to the core, bringing her to a standstill, creating a new normal in our lives and a new world order. The world didn't just fold its arms, but went in search of a solution, a vaccine that would bring an end to a pandemic which, if not taken seriously, could wipe out all humanity as we know it. Now, 1 year and counting, vaccines have been developed. But even with the discovery of a vaccine, the second, third, and fourth wave hit even harder, bringing countries like Italy and India almost to their knees. In Nigeria, 7 vaccines have been approved so far since the receipt of the first batch of the AstraZeneca vaccine in March 2021, marking a historic step towards ensuring equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccine globally in what could be described as the largest vaccine procurement and supply operation in history via COVAX facility, followed by others. Now, are the vaccines enough to get every Nigerian vaccinated? That President Buhari raised at the Paris Peace Forum in France, calling on world leaders and global health institutions to follow a regime of enabling access to the vaccines, urging them not to sideline countries in terms of reach. That, President Buhari said, will undermine the entire effort for safety. Are Nigerians willing to take the jab or just paying lip service? What is the latest statistics of vaccinated Nigerians? What is the level of awareness in states and rural areas? This we intend to find answers to on the program. We have reports from across the country, and my guest is Kubura Dara, the Director of Logistics and Health Commodities, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. I am Jumma Yusuf. First, the news. President Muhammadu Buhari says the world has an opportunity to leverage on the gains of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in the last 75 years of its existence. President Buhari stated this at the 75th anniversary of the organization in Paris, France. Anthony Forson reports.
Felicitating with UNESCO at 75, Nigeria President Muhammadu Buhari says remains proud of its close association with the organization since it was established. The president noted that 75 years of building together a more advanced, knowledge and prosperous world through education, science, culture, communication and information.
As we mark UNESCO's 75 years anniversary, we must acknowledge that it is a celebration of history, an occasion to remind ourselves of how we have traveled, seeking to achieve the founding objectives of this great intellectual hub of the United Nations.
Maintaining that Nigeria's relationship with UNESCO has been ever expanding and mutually beneficial in forging ahead for a brighter future.
Our world is fast changing, and so are the evolving challenges. There is therefore no better time to converse for solidarity for the enthronement of peace and development. As I express my personal happiness for being part of this historic celebration today, I congratulate UNESCO and its current leadership for keeping the vision of our great organization alive.
Again, President Buhari was quick to caution that achievements of the years gone by should not be overlooked, especially how the journey has shaped the world. In Paris, France, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Still staying in Paris, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed and his finance counterpart are among ministers that showcase the investment opportunities in Nigeria at the Nigeria International Partnership Forum in France. Anthony Forson reports.
Calling on investors from France and across the globe to invest in Nigeria, Lai Mohammed said the nation's entertainment industry and television advert market is huge and viable, especially with the ongoing digitization project.
The biggest revolution of the DSO is actually in the advertising industry, because the ad spend in Nigeria as of 2020 is about $490 billion. As digital transformation is ongoing, we're looking at in USD 1.47 billion ad revenue. Now, beyond our TV market, Nigeria also has Africa's largest internet and social media economy. Nigeria has 104 million active internet users, 33 million active social media users, and we have an annual digital ad spend of about $233 million US. Beyond doubt, the Nigerian market is one which is ready for investment and growth.
For Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed, diversification of the economy, which is real, with the successful passage and implementation of 2020 and 2021 budget, is a positive sign.
The government has successfully reduced the length and depth of the recession. Specifically, the federal government of Nigeria introduced key initiatives to mitigate the impacts of the COVID-19 recession, and this includes the establishment of the 500 billion COVID-19 crisis intervention fund, creation of public works to provide employment, credit support to households, industries, and several monetary policy measures to support micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele, on his part, was straight to the point, just as Olukayode Peter of the Bank of Industry says, as a policy bank and the biggest in Nigeria, investors must take advantage of what it can offer.
I want to say and join Mr. President in saying Nigeria is truly open. Please come over. We are setting examples as Nigerians to say we want to invest in our country. And we believe by the time you see the steps that we have taken, it is also easy for you to come join us in the race to develop Nigeria and by extension the African continent.
If you want to come to Nigeria, the bank is there to support you. From what we heard from Federal Bank government, the inflation was 16.6%. So when you see on the average, talking about maybe in the next 2 years, maybe 14 to 15% in terms of the inflation figure. Bank of Industry lends money, on the average at about 8 to 9%. It means we are taking money, that is subsidized. So the bank is a policy bank. So if you are coming to Nigeria and you are looking for partners to work with, long-term money at rates that make sense to make your business profitable, the bank is there to support you. That's very important.
There were assurances that there will be continued monitoring of progress, prompt response, and flexibility to support recovery from COVID-19. In Paris, France, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari departs Paris for Durban, South Africa on a special invitation by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to join other African leaders at the official opening ceremony of the second Intra-African Trade Fair, which takes place on Monday. The event, holding from November 15th to November 21st, is being convened by the Africa Export-Import Bank, AFRIXIM, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. Global businesses, including non-African international brands, are expected to key into opportunities generated by the fair, thereby attracting for the continent trade and investment deals worth $40 billion. Various Nigerian investors are already in Durban to take advantage of the event. The president will be accompanied on the trip by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, Minister of Industry and Trade and Investment, Otumba Ni Adebayo, Director General, National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Ahmed Rufai Abubakar, and the Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Segun Awolowo. President Buhari is expected back in Nigeria on Tuesday, November 16th. Back in Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on the elites to take the lead in building a strong and united nation. The Vice President made the call in Abuja at a public presentation of a book titled Winning Leadership, written by Major General Pat Ikem-Vingel, retired. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
The daunting challenges of the 21st century, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo notes, requires a kind of leadership who can effectively mobilize national and organizational resources to achieve results.
Leadership has to be knowledgeable, it has to be agile, and it has to be responsive at the moment when it's required to be responsive. And it has to be able to mobilize the resources, human, financial, and material. In other words, effective strategic leadership purposefully provides direction and inspires.
And following a presidential order in 2020 in Nigeria, the Vice President says was able to effectively tackle the COVID-19 pandemic by deploying a responsive and effective public health framework at a time where more developed and wealthier countries were struggling to deal with the fallouts of the global pandemic. Vice President Osinbajo describes this as a good example of strategic leadership. The 21st century leadership, the Vice President says, must be able to attain goals and visions and also able to protect and promote interests of all people, not minding political or religious views.
Our Constitution says there's freedom of worship in our Constitution. Any religious leader, from whatever persuasion, who says that another religion should not exist or that another religion is inferior is not relevant for our circumstances today. And that is the same for political leaders. Any political leader who doesn't recognize that this is a multi-religious, multi-ethnic society, any ethnic leader who doesn't recognize that this is a multi-ethnic society, and that you cannot function with one ethnic group, everyone has to be carried along. It's not relevant today. I keep saying that it's the elite that will show that direction.
On the book, the Vice President says it is unique among other books on leadership, as the author has articulated military strategies and fresh thinking on the concept of strategic leadership, adding that the book offered multiple pathways through which leaders can tackle unique challenges of current times.
The world has changed. The strategies and techniques of yesterday will not work today, either in the corporate workplace, in our public institutions, or even in our homes.
In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The preliminary findings of the National Sodium Study in 3 states have boosted the confidence of researchers that the 2025 target of sodium reduction by 0.3% is achievable. Kevin Nwone was at the stakeholders meeting at the University of Abuja.
Excessive salt intake is one of the major causes of heart diseases, especially among hypertensive patients. Championed by researchers at the University of Abuja College of Health Sciences, University of Minnesota, USA, and NAFDAC, the National Sodium Study Pilot Project in Kano, Ogun, and FCT was to determine the best strategies to achieve the WHO Safe Sodium benchmark. At this meeting of professionals and regulatory agencies, 2 key issues were thrown up: that Nigeria needs a policy on cheap alternatives to salt, and a new labeling procedure for packaged foods identified as a leading cause of unsafe sodium outlets for unsuspecting consumers.
We just gazetted one of our regulations that is talking about limiting salt intake, but we're going to change our labeling or work towards modifying our labeling so that the consumer knows what they are taking.
Research such as is being done by these collaborators is so crucial to helping us to resolve this fundamental issue that have affected us for too long.
The National Sodium Study is set to be rolled out across the country to guide NAFDAC and other agencies in policy decisions. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebonwaye, NTA News.
The Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment, in collaboration with Gombe State Government, has produced the first set of facilitators at the At-Risk Children Project initiative in the country. Emmanuel Akilia reports that the 500 trainees are to be paid monthly stipends of 30,000 naira.
The At-Risk Children Project initiative is aimed at poverty alleviation among vulnerable youths and women in Nigeria.
We need to create an army of capacity within the communities to see how we can support these children who, through no fault of theirs, are deprived of so many rights and protections.
The pilot program, launched in Gombe in June this year, has recorded success as the first graduates are proud to be the drivers of poverty eradication from the grassroots.
Tomato from that Incoa, rice from here, I can post it on Facebook, they will see it from there, they will buy. It means with time we'll start exporting.
Their enthusiasm is very high, their willingness to even learn. You can see some, coming to meet us even after the training, asking questions.
Governor Muhammad Inuwa Yahaya thanked the presidency for the program, which is targeting youth and women, pledging sustainable support to achieve the desired objectives.
We are indeed proud of your commitment, which has made Gombe State to be a model in the implementation of this laudable initiative.
The trained volunteer facilitators, who are expected to step down the program to other youths, are now competent in information and communication technology, vocations in agriculture, tailoring, and cosmetics, among others. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
To security matters now, troops of Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai have eliminated several Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP terrorists in an encounter in Askira Uba local government area of Borno State. A statement by the Director Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Oyema Nwachukwu says 5 A-jets, 2 A-29 and 2 Dragon combats were deployed during the operation, which successfully destroyed 9 gun trucks and 1 armored personnel carrier. However, a senior officer, Brigadier General Zarma Zirkisu, and 3 soldiers paid the supreme price during the counter-offensive against the terrorists. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, commiserates with the family and relations of the fallen heroes while troops are on the trail of the terrorists. We'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation will begin. You're welcome back. The vaccination program against the deadly COVID-19 is one countries the world over generally testify to be more effective in reducing the risks of infection and achieving immunity. Nigeria has since set an ambitious goal of vaccinating 40% of the over 200 million Nigerians before the end of 2021 and 70% by the end of 2022. Odishe Adebo in this report examines the various measures put in place by actors in the national response to achieve the set target, even in the middle of COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy.
Recommendations to mitigate transmission of the infectious disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus at first centered around applying preventive measures until there came the rapid development of vaccines. More than 5.8 million Nigerians have so far been vaccinated with the first dose, but that is put at just 5.2% of the country's entire population. From the NPHCDA COVID-19 vaccination update, 100,000 people approximately are getting vaccinated daily nationwide, an effort that has since been rated outstanding even by development partners.
3 times the country touched 100,000 per day mark, and that's something really commendable.
While hesitancy about COVID-19 vaccination is evident in many countries, actors in Nigeria's national response are promoting confidence in the safety of vaccines through effective communication with relevant stakeholders.
We're leading by example. We're also talking directly to the people. We are bringing in traditional other traditional leaders on board. We are bringing in all religious leaders.
If they can bring it to places of worship, wonderful. And when they bring it to the place of worship, it doesn't mean that people will now be compelled that they must be vaccinated. No, you still have a choice.
The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 has also continued with re-engineering strategies to protect Nigerians from the virus.
With effect from 1st December 2021, all federal government employees shall be required, all without exception, shall be required to show proof of COVID-19 vaccination or present a negative COVID-19 PCR test result done within 72 hours to gain access to their places of work.
The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency assures of sufficient vaccines to take care of the present demand.
We should not be concerned about the availability of vaccines because the supply chain has been analyzed and we're confident that the vaccines that are required has been figured out.
Now that COVID-19 vaccines have been administered to more than 5 billion people worldwide, the evidence is overwhelming that the vaccines offer life-saving protection against the disease that has killed millions. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adeagbo, NTA News.
As the coronavirus continues to affect many and claim more lives, global fight against the pandemic is intensifying in addition to non-pharmaceutical measures. Governments at all levels are ramping up vaccination. Hingino John Adams gives us an update from Lagos.
Lagos State government kicked off inoculation against the ravaging coronavirus on 12th March 2021. Since then, government has not relented in ensuring availability of vaccines.
COVID-19 vaccines are available at different designated centers and they are still free till today. However, how many people are making themselves available for these vaccines due to some divergent views and opinions?
It's a good thing that we have this vaccine here, and the more of us that can take it, the better, so that we can begin to put an end to this horrible virus.
Even with its more than 100 vaccination centers spread across the state, government is partnering with the private sector to ramp up the process of vaccinating 4 million residents before the end of 2021. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu recently flagged off the Count Me In 4 million Lagosians vaccinated against COVID-19 campaign to make the journey towards achieving herd immunity seamless.
Even if we are to flood all the public health facilities with the vaccines, we will still not reach 30% coverage in the country. Therefore, we need to work with the private sector. We need to have more innovative approaches.
The federal government has done extremely well by providing this to Nigerians. I must also commend Lagos State. Their local government health facilities are really well established.
Medical experts say, in addition to the public-private partnership, campaign against vaccine apathy needs to be intensified so that people can avail themselves of inoculation. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
Thank you, Hingino. In Sokoto State, there is appreciable level of acceptance in both urban and rural areas with the administration of 113,258 doses of AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines allocated to the state by the federal government. Shehu Muhammad Datti takes a look at the progress of the rollout in Sokoto.
With the first case of COVID-19 confirmed in April 2020, an intervention with allocation of the COVID-19 vaccines to Sokoto State, over 100,000 doses of AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines from the federal government were received. 48,840 second and first consignment of vaccines were also received and administered in the rural communities on the ratio of 1,000 to each of the 23 local government areas, with breakthrough of 60 to 70% success rate at both urban and rural areas, with many willing to be vaccinated, mostly those intending to go for lesser pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia and business trips.
You have to ration it according to local government. You have a good storage facility for the AstraZeneca. We don't have much problem. We have the cold store in the central medical store, and for the Moderna we install new ultra cold facility.
Some of those spoken to decline willingness, while others acknowledge significance of the exercise but are yet to get vaccinated, stressing the need for more sensitization.
I don't believe in COVID-19, so I don't want to be vaccinated.
Possibly I may be ready to accept it if maybe there will be some reasons.
However, measures have been put in place to ensure wider coverage in line with the availability of doses on ground, especially with projection of 5 million expected beneficiaries in the state. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
Now let's bring in our guest for a conversation on vaccination of COVID-19 across Nigeria. And joining me is Kubura Daradara, the Director Logistics and Health Commodities, National Primary Health Development Agency. You're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much, Jumai.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
Let's begin. What is your experience like on the field?
So, my experience on the field has been quite exciting. So there have been high moments and there have been low moments. So the high moments are when I see people coming out to receive the vaccines. But sometimes we feel upset when we sense the hesitancy in the people. But overall, I think we're actually improving. The hesitancy is not like it was in the beginning.
Okay, since the receipt of the first batch of COVID-19 vaccine in March this year, with the assurance that it is safe, you know, more vaccines have been received with relative success in vaccination across the country. So what is the latest on the vaccination statistics we have?
Okay, so we received the first batch of the vaccines, which was about 3.9 million doses from the COVAX facility in March this year. And then after that, we have received vaccines in different batches. But so far from March to date, as I am speaking, I think we have received about 21.4 million doses of the vaccines. So we have received in batches and we have received several brands of the vaccine. So now what we have in country, we have the AstraZeneca vaccine, we have Pfizer, we have Moderna, and we have the J&J vaccines. And the turnout initially, like I said, was not very impressive. But from March to date, we've been able to give about maybe a little bit over 5.8 million people first dose, and then over 3.2 million people have taken their second shot.
You know, initially when the vaccines came in, it said it was for 20% of Nigerians. Later they said 40% before the end of 2021. Where are we on that? How is the spread like of distribution of vaccines?
Okay, so initially, yes, the COVAX facility actually fixed 20% of for the population, but later WHO, because they wanted equity, now said no, it should be 40% of the target population. And then also in Nigeria, we are targeting over 111 million people, because for now we are looking at the eligible Nigerians. Now we are looking at people that are 18 years and above, whether male or female, the age, everybody. Once you are 18 years and above in Nigeria, we are targeting you for the population. So in Nigeria, we are actually looking at 40% of that 111 point something million that we are targeting.
Okay, apart from the AstraZeneca donation donated by India, which other country has been able to donate vaccines to Nigeria?
So India actually donated 100,000 doses. So we had 3.9 million doses from the COVAX facility, which was procured directly by Gavi and some other countries. We've also had donations from the United Kingdom, the United States of America, France, Germany, I think, and Switzerland too. Donation has come in. Some other donations too are coming in.
On two occasions, President Muhammadu Buhari has advocated at the UN General Meeting and now at the Paris Peace Forum, has advocated for equitable distribution of the vaccine. Do we have enough vaccine for all Nigerians to be vaccinated in case of a fifth wave? Because we've seen the second, we've seen the third, we've seen the fourth. And what happens if we don't have enough vaccines?
So when President Muhammadu Buhari was actually advocating for that, he was reiterating that based on the call for equity of the vaccines. Because what happened initially was when we started hearing that vaccines will be available, the industrial countries and the rich countries went and bought up all the vaccines, including even the ones that were not yet manufactured. So we found that it would be very difficult for low and medium income countries to get vaccines. So that is why he has been making this call for equity in the COVID-19 vaccine access. So, but at least we've been able to get some from the COVAX facility, and President Mohamed Buhari has not just been talking. Nigeria is also a member of AVAT, that is the African Vaccine Acquisition Tax Team that has been procuring vaccines. So some of the vaccines we have in country now, some were from the donation, and then some were those that were procured through the AVAT using government funds.
It's indeed good that we are discussing this topic now so that Nigerians will understand, the impact of COVID-19 and why they should get vaccinated. Let's talk about the synergy between state governments and the rural areas. From your experience, I'm sure you've been on the field so many times. What is it like away from the city center in Abuja here when we go out to the states and the rural? How is the acceptability like?
So when we're allocating the vaccines, we took the decision jointly with the state governments that the deployment of the vaccines will be based on. So for the initial deployment we did when we got that 3.9 million doses, we looked at the population of the states and we looked at the COVID-19 disease burden. So, but moving forward, now what we do is, again in synergy with the states, we look again at the total population of the state, and we also look at the utilization. So the allocation that goes to a state depends on their burn-out rate. How have they been absorbing the vaccines that we gave them in the past? So that is what determines how much vaccines that they get. And for the rural areas, what we have always done in the agencies, anytime we have a campaign, we have what we call a micro plan. Yeah. So in the micro plan, we sit down with the community members, the ward heads and everybody will sit down together and we map out the communities. Where are your urban areas? Where are your rural areas? Where we are going to deploy this vaccine. We also take cognizance of important events, festivals. Where are the markets? Where are the schools? Where are we going to find most members of the community? We know who we are targeting. We are targeting Nigerians that are 18 years and above. Where are they? Where can we get them? So that in that instance, we make sure that those in the rural areas are not left behind, no matter where they are situated in the country.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll return. Our conversation will continue. We'll take a break now. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. The sustainability of government's efforts in breaking the chain of local transmission of COVID-19 and the spread of the virus is dependent on the continuous sensitization and test of the citizens, particularly at the rural areas. This is as some medical experts in Port Harcourt commend the efficient vaccination process in River State. Nkiru Onyejesi reports.
Measures were taken to halt the spread of the pandemic, which include the lockdowns, use of the face masks in public places, maintaining social distancing, washing of hands under running water, and use of alcohol-based sanitizers. Before the discovery of the vaccine, many conspiracy theories trailing the pandemic fueled misconceptions and mistrust surrounding it. However, recent investigation shows that more people in Port Harcourt are getting vaccinated.
I'm over 50. I'm healthy, but I think it's a necessity for every Nigerian.
We were very slow to reacting to something until government comes with the sledgehammer to say, if you don't do this, you're going to do.
With the impressive reception of the vaccine by Port Harcourt residents, seems to have reduced the level of compliance with the COVID-19 protocols, a situation giving medical experts and other stakeholders cause for concern.
The patronage has increased, the utilization and acceptance has increased by the society, especially in River State.
We take the vaccine from the council, from Obiako, and then we have a solar. This is the solar. When we bring from the council, we store it in the solar so that it can meet up the recommended temperature.
However, it is heartwarming to know that the River State government has put in place strategies aimed at getting more people to get vaccinated. This include regular engagements with healthcare workers, media practitioners, and other stakeholders. In Port Harcourt, Nkiru Onyejesi, NTA News.
The coronavirus vaccine is gradually gaining acceptance in Borno State as a result of aggressive awareness campaigns in rural and urban areas, as well as internally displaced persons camps. Despite this success story, some segments of the society are still skeptical about the pandemic. Pauline Kujevana has the details.
The introduction of non-pharmaceutical safety protocols and COVID-19 vaccines are part of global measures to contain spread of the disease with deadly variants. Despite electricity power disruption for 10 months in most parts of Borno State, cold chain facilities have been strengthened for storage of vaccines and statewide distribution, often with support of the military due to the peculiar security challenge. In March 2021, Borno State received 75,510 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine for first and second administration, while 14,798 doses of Moderna vaccine arrived to the state in October. From March 2021 to date, since the first and second doses of AstraZeneca and Moderna arrived to the state, stakeholders in the health sector have intensified effort in stimulating vaccine acceptance and exercise.
Nothing like pain. I just take it, I feel free. So I'm happy as I take it, so to protect my life.
I think it's a good thing that I'm finally vaccinated. I've gotten the first dose. I don't feel anything, I feel normal.
Areas with difficulty in maintaining social distancing, wearing of face masks, and other preventive measures like the internally displaced persons camps, worship centers, and markets are not being left out in the ongoing sensitization campaign.
The vaccine is given first dose to who wishes. We vaccinate with their consent and their wish. So the vaccination is safe and free.
In spite of the hesitancy in some quarters due to limited or no cases of COVID-19 reported in Borno in recent times, vaccination continues as the people gradually accept the reality of COVID-19. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
With the intensive mobilization and sensitization on the benefits of the COVID-19 vaccine to families and communities, Enugu State is embracing the COVID-19 vaccination exercise. Mina Ukwabasi reports the progress of the vaccination in communities, and they are seeing the need to get vaccinated.
Information from the Enugu State Primary Healthcare Development Agency reveals that COVID-19 vaccination in the state is ongoing side by side and simultaneously with other routine special vaccinations, and so far has been hit-free. Though Enugu State has been one of the states with the highest level of hesitancy, blamed on ignorance and misconception, massive and sustained sensitization by stakeholders seem to be yielding great results.
At the initial stage, people were afraid. People thought the vaccine may not be safe, or people thought it will cause all sorts of strange possible complications. But we explained that all known health authorities have declared this vaccine safe and free, and is being used across the world.
Enugu State is adopting routinization of vaccination as a means of ensuring that at any time, residents can always walk into a health facility and get their COVID-19 jabs. According to the Executive Secretary, State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, the COVID-19 storage facilities in the state are well planned with multiple sources of power to ensure the required temperature is maintained.
We now have solar refrigerator for our vaccines in every ward in the state.
The Enugu State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, through the health education as well as the administrative and coordinating units, has persistently taken the crusade of COVID-19 vaccination to the nooks and crannies of the state, and the results are overwhelming. In Enugu, Mina Adobe Kobasi, NTA News.
You're welcome back, and my guest, Kubura Dara, Director Logistics and Health Commodities, National Healthcare Development Agency, is still in the studio for us to continue our conversation. Let's talk about the state of storage facilities in the states. How is it like?
Okay.
Was it like when the COVID-19 started and there was a rush? Are they sort of stepped back?
Okay, so even before the COVID-19 started, we have a national strategic cold store, where we have working freezer rooms, working cold rooms, and some refrigerators. So every state in the country, the 36 states plus one, have cold stores where they have working freezer rooms and working cold rooms. Since under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, when he started talking about having one functional PHC per ward, so we have taken to equipping all the not all the PHCs, now at least that one PHC per ward we are making functional. We are putting the solar cold chain equipment in them. So far, I think we have been able to equip about over 6,000 health facilities with this functional cold chain equipment. The same thing with LGA cold stores. Actually, we have procured over 9,000 solar cold chain equipment, but some we have put at the LGA levels and some at the health facilities, so that we are providing access to people. Now people have access to vaccination. So there's no issue of a health worker saying, I didn't have vaccine, so I didn't go to collect vaccines from the LGA. Now the solar cold chain equipment are there. They are solarized. We don't have any power or electricity problem with them. Now when the COVID-19 came in, some of the vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna, they require ultra low freezing temperatures. So again, we procured, I think, so far we have procured 84 ultra cold chain equipment. Okay. And we have given each state one, and some states even have two, depending on the population of the state and the power situation. So we've been able to give almost every state two. I think about 20 states now have two ultra cold chain equipment, and then even at the national level we have some. Our zonal stores too have some. So in terms of storage, no matter the peculiarity of the vaccine, whether it requires ultra low freezing temperature or whether it requires the normal refrigeration temperature, we don't have issues with the storage. We can always store them at all levels of the supply chain.
Okay, let's talk about something that, question that has been asked over and over again, and that is about nursing mothers and those intending to get pregnant, taking the vaccine. I'm giving you a double, bullet question, and about the enlightenment. How have the stakeholders in the rural areas and the states, especially traditional rulers and leaders in the communities, helped you to achieve what you're doing now?
Okay, thank you very much. So for the nursing mothers and those intending to get pregnant, this is a new disease, and this is also a new vaccine that we are using. So far they have been taking the vaccines, and we've not had any adverse effects following immunization, either for the nursing mother. A lot of nursing mothers have taken. A lot of my colleagues that are nursing mothers have taken the vaccine. There was one that was initially she was afraid to take, but 2 weeks ago she came and she collected the jab. And then last week she called me and said, Hajia, up to now I'm not feeling anything. I said, what do you want to feel? She said, because I'm a nursing mother. I said, no, you're not going to feel anything. It's just conspiracy theories. That's the global challenge now we are having. And then on the issue of the stakeholders, so even before we started the COVID-19 vaccination, we have a risk communication group that have been having sensitization and engagement meetings with all relevant stakeholders, both the professional bodies, the religious leaders, the traditional rulers and all. And some of them have even come out to be role models. They have taken the vaccines in front of everybody. They collected their jab and they said, yes, you can use my picture anywhere. And they've had interviews which they have granted. We have had scientists that came out to talk about the science of the vaccines.
Indeed, the conversation is getting, interesting.
It's getting more interesting.
Yes, and time is not on our side.
And then, sorry, just to add that, you see, we have even had stakeholders that have come to our agency to have meeting with us and tell us that, look, we have been doing a lot in terms of creating awareness. They went out of their way to produce IEC materials, to produce banners that they have been giving people, posters that they have been giving people, and some people say they have done town hall meetings.
Well, we thank God for that. Kubura Daradara, Director, Logistics and Health Commodities, National Healthcare Development Agency. Thank you so much for your time on Weekend.
So can I just add the last, what we are doing now?
We've run out of time.
Sorry,
actually.
Let me just add one more thing that we are doing now.
30 seconds.
Okay, just 30 seconds.
Yes.
So now we are ramping up the vaccination. So initially we were only doing in public health facilities, but now we are ramping up. We're having mass vaccination campaigns. Okay. We're also doing in public facilities, private facilities. Corporate organizations that have clinics can also be made vaccination sites. So we are looking at shopping malls, markets. You understand? Everywhere where there's traffic, we are using Grid 3 to look at where the population is, where there's high density, and set up mass vaccination sites there. Jume, thank you for having me over. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Kubra Daradara. It's been a pleasure having you. Nigeria are 1 point away from reaching the final phase of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Final phase of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Details in our sports update. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has expressed sadness over the death of a reporter of the Vanguard newspapers covering the House, Mr. Teodoro Salem. The Speaker said it was more painful that Salem, whom he described as a vibrant and committed journalist, went missing for almost a month before his corpse was discovered at a morgue in Abuja. Gbajabiamila, in a statement, recalled how Salem distinguished himself as one of the finest journalists that covered the activities of the House for many years. While praying for the repose of the soul of the late journalist, Gbajabiamila prayed God to grant his family and colleagues the fortitude to bear the loss, adding that Salem would be missed. And that's Weekend File. Thanks so much for your time. I am Jumwa Yusuf. Good night.